There's no doubt that World Heavyweight Champion Gunther, along with Raw commentator Pat McAfee, are going to be in some serious hot water behind the scenes in WWE after what had transpired during the opening part of Raw last night during the Jey Uso and Gunther segment, where Jey announced he would be choosing to face off against Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship after Gunther blindside attacked him, and clearly Gunther got a bit carried away during his destruction of Main Event Jey Uso, which has ultimately gotten him in trouble with Triple H most likely. Now, for those of you who didn't catch this Gunther and Pat McAfee incident, which led to a fan getting injured and has unquestionably landed both Gunther and Pat McAfee in hot water behind the scenes, the incident occurred when Gunther sent Jey Uso out of the ring near the commentator's desk during the blindside attack, with Gunther proceeding to rip off his jacket to further the beatdown on Jey. But before he continued attacking Jey, Gunther threw his jacket at Pat McAfee pretty hard, we might add, and as a natural reflex, Pat McAfee ducked when Gunther threw the jacket, leading to the jacket unfortunately hitting a young fan right across the face, with the zipper apparently hitting the fan in the eye, causing a bit of an injury. Obviously, it was a planned thing for Gunther to rip off his jacket and throw it at Pat McAfee, but due to the sheer intensity in which Gunther threw the jacket at Pat, it caused a natural reflex to duck. So both stars are responsible for this incident, as Gunther probably wasn't supposed to throw the jacket as hard as he did, and Pat certainly wasn't supposed to duck, resulting in a fan being hit instead. As soon as Gunther realized what had happened, he almost looked stunned for a second and unsure what to do as he stared at the fans in the front row, who were yelling at him for what he had just done. But Gunther composed himself and continued the beatdown of Jey Uso. Now, obviously, this isn't the first time something like this has occurred on WWE television, as things sometimes just happen amidst all the chaos. But there's no doubt that Gunther and Pat McAfee have a bit of backstage heat with Triple H and management for this incident on Raw last night, not only because a fan got injured, which would have at least somewhat ruined their experience of sitting ringside depending on how bad the injury was, but what's worse in the eyes of the company is that it was a young fan on top of that. Not an adult fan, which could have still been a serious problem for WWE, but it's worse because it was essentially a kid who had gotten injured due to Gunther's and Pat McAfee's mishap. The reality is that although the injury doesn't seem too serious, because how much damage can a jacket really cause by just being thrown? But honestly, Gunther threw that jacket with some serious force, and the fan was hit right across his face, with the zipper getting in his eye due to the fan being short. Because had it been an adult fan sitting in that spot, they would have likely been hit by the jacket in the chest, which obviously wouldn't have been as bad. It might not seem like that big of a deal, but we can smell a lawsuit coming a mile away. People have won cases for much less than getting literally decked in the face, and the WWE are now going to have to deal with this situation behind closed doors. Triple H and other WWE officials are going to have to hope that they'll be able to resolve this situation without any lawsuits. And at the very least, this fan is getting WWE tickets for the rest of his life after the incident last night on Raw, and at worst, the WWE will have to deal with a lawsuit due to Gunther's and Pat McAfee's negligence. Now, you might be asking, well, what does this all mean when it comes to Gunther's status with WWE as a result of the incident involving a fan getting unfortunately injured on Raw last night? Honestly, not too much from what we'll see on television. No doubt Gunther got a bit of a scolding behind the scenes by Triple H for what had happened, and he'll have a bit of heat on him behind the scenes for a while, but as far as Gunther's position on WWE television heading into WrestleMania 41, we don't really expect anything to change. It's too late for the WWE to change their plans when it comes to Gunther and Jey Uso for WrestleMania, and they can't really punish Gunther at this point by having him drop the World Heavyweight Championship, especially after last night where Jey announced he would be choosing to face off against Gunther at the Showcase of the Immortals for the title this April. The reality is that really nothing will change regarding Gunther's status on TV despite having backstage heat for injuring the fan on Raw. But one thing we can say is that for anyone expecting Gunther to defeat Main Event Jey Uso at WrestleMania and retain his World Heavyweight Championship, and possibility of that happening has gone out the window. After what happened on Raw last night, we can say it confidently now, more so than ever before, that Gunther's going to be dropping the world title to Jey Uso at WrestleMania 41. Because for starters, that's the right decision for the company to make. And secondly, there's no way Hunter would be rewarding Gunther by derailing Jey Uso's rise and having him retain the world title after injuring a young fan, which will cause the WWE to have to deal with this headache of a situation for the time being. Now, with that being said, Pat McAfee isn't innocent in this situation either, as some could even argue that Pat was actually more responsible for this young fan getting injured because he ducked when Gunther threw the jacket. And had he not done that out of reflex, there wouldn't be a situation involving a fan getting injured. And instead, Gunther may have gotten a bit of heat for almost injuring Pat McAfee for throwing the jacket with too much force. No doubt Pat will have a little backstage heat on him as well for the part he played in this fan ultimately getting smacked in the face by Gunther's jacket, but we don't expect him to really be punished whatsoever, and his role likely hasn't changed in WWE at all, as Triple H is very happy with the work Pat's continuing to do on Raw commentary. Regardless, a truly unfortunate incident that could have easily been avoided. Now, is it time for wrestling fans to start getting a bit worried about Penta's status with WWE? Well, clearly some fans think so, because for those of you unaware, Penta was featured in a match against Grayson Waller on Main Event ahead of Raw last night, so instead of having Penta appear on Raw, Triple H instead decided to put him on the C-level show, Main Event, which has not surprisingly gotten fans a bit worried over Penta's status with the company. Right from his WWE debut, Penta was treated like this massive star, and was featured on Monday Night Raw as he should, selling tons of merchandise and winning all of his matches in impressive fashion, while being super over with fans. It seemed like Triple H was extremely happy with Penta's work since his debut a month ago, but the fact that Hunter had Penta demoted from Raw to Main Event is honestly a serious concern. Now, at least Hunter didn't have Penta jobbed out on this C-level show, as Penta was booked to win his match against Grayson Waller. But the fact that Penta's only a couple of matches into his WWE run and has already been demoted to Main Event is honestly baffling, especially when you consider how Monday Night Raw was yesterday. You know, if the WWE had stacked last night's Raw episode with massive segments and matches and felt like they couldn't squeeze Penta in on the show, that would be one thing, even though we wouldn't agree with it, due to the fact that Penta's ridiculously over with fans and deserves the spotlight. But Raw last night was honestly a pretty lackluster show that didn't even go the full 3 hours. It's not as if Raw was so stacked that they couldn't find time or fit Penta into the show. The show was almost a dud in some fans' eyes, and really could have benefited from having that Penta and Grayson Waller match featured during the show instead of the match being done on Main Event of all shows. That's the reason as to why this whole situation of Penta being thrown on Main Event is so concerning. There was no logical reason for this happening, and that has caused many to worry that something has changed regarding Triple H's view on Penta for some reason to have him demoted like that out of the blue. The WWE had teased Penta going after Braun Breaker's Intercontinental Championship a couple weeks ago, and that has seemingly went out the window after the face-off between Braun Breaker and AJ Styles backstage at Raw last night. So right now it's anyone's guess what's going on with Penta, but it's not looking good at all, and after getting such a great start to his WWE run, it's sad to see Penta down bad being featured on Main Event, which is usually a signal that the star isn't in the good books of WWE for one reason or another. Well guys, that's it for today's major wrestling news. Make sure you leave a like and comment, and also make sure you subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on so you'll never miss out on an episode. Finally, if you haven't already, give us a follow on Twitter at TSE Wrestling, and we will see you guys in the next video.